Hey everybody, it's Ron Bass with another edition of the Ron Bass Show, your source for many things: inspiration, encouragement, motivation, a lot of dry humor. I was talking to my jiu-jitsu coach last night about dry humor. He's a wannabe comedian, and I said, I do a lot of dry humor on the podcast with Brent because he's comes from a humor family, and I said, I think sometimes my dry humor is a little bit too over the top because people don't always respond to my dry humor. And then the comment was, well, yeah, because your dry humor is terrible. No, it's because sometimes I get kind of deep and I go into the weeds. But that's okay because I think dry humor, it's kind of an old-fashioned humor, right? Versus like telling a joke that's ha ha ha. So, at any rate, I try to keep things light and lively sometimes, guys. Brent and I talk about this. I don't want to get too serious all the time, even though that's kind of how my brain works, because I have a lot of things I like to talk about and visit about and encourage people about and so forth and so on. One thing that happened today, I was telling Brent earlier at the gym today, was I was talking to this gentleman, and he's an older guy too, and he says, hey man, how old are you? And I thought, everybody wants to know how old I am. I said, I'm 71. And he says, you don't look it. And I said, well, how old are you? And he said, I'm 67. I said, you don't look it. I thought to myself, old guys talking to each other about age. Oh, boy. What kind of topic is that, huh?
And
but that's just the way it is. State of mind. State of mind.
Yep.
And I told him, I said, man, I sure don't feel my age. And I said, that's the whole idea of working out, right? That's why you got to work out. But when you're young, maybe you don't feel, you don't feel bad. And you don't think it's necessary to work out. But I promise you, if you work out even when you're young and you feel good, there's so many benefits from it long term that you got to do it regardless. I said, how often do you work out? He says, 3 days a week. He said, how often do you work out? I said, every day. And he said, well, maybe I should pick up the pace. I said, oh, look, man, 3 days a week is better than zero. And you look great and you obviously feel good. So whatever you're doing is working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But it's good to be around people that are motivated, ambitious, that are going somewhere in their life. I had another run-in with a friend at the gym today. She used to be in one of my students here at the dojo, our martial arts student. And we were talking, and she said, well, I broke up with she's a lesbian. She said, I broke up with my girlfriend. And I said, well, what happened? She says, well, we just kind of went different directions, this and that, but, we're still good friends, this and that. And I thought to myself, so typical of relationships after 4, 5, 6, 7 years. You've heard of the 7-year itch. We've talked about that. It's like the relationship begins to wane sometimes, particularly if it's not based on respect and friendship, etc. You can't just have a friendship based on or a romantic relationship only. It's not going to last, guys. So you got to build something else in there. But what I was getting at was with her was that, hey, sometimes it's just good not to have any relationship with a girl or a guy. Just be to yourself. And if you're ambitious and you're goal oriented, it's a whole lot easier to be by yourself. Because even with a good relationship, you're going to be somewhat distracted because you want to be with that person. You want to spend time with that person. And I was thinking to myself, an average thinking person goes to work, spends 40 hours a week, goes home with their family, and does all the cool things you do with the family. I'm just not cut from that cloth. To me, I work 16 hours a day. I work 7 days a week, but I'm very, very goal-oriented. Not everybody's going to be like that, guys, and I'm not putting anybody down that isn't. But I'm saying if you are that person, if you do have those kinds of ambitions, it's probably a whole lot easier just to be by yourself. Because when I go home at night, all I want to think about is eat, shower, and sleep. I'm exhausted. I have to be able to rest to be able to get back up and do it all over again the next day. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
No, I would not.
You don't work that hard, do you? No, you work hard. You work as hard as I work every day.
I do.
Any rate, moving forward, let's talk about one of my topics.
And that is?
It is.
Oh, by the way, happy Thanksgiving Eve.
Happy Thanksgiving Eve.
Yeah. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Today's Thanksgiving Eve.
Yes. Well, what I want to talk about is staying the course versus falling off the wagon.
Falling off the wagon.
Have you heard of that before?
I have, but it means a lot of different things to different people.
Well, falling off the wagon basically means that you are not following the lead. You're not staying on the course to accomplish your goals. And this happens a lot with people. We talked about it last week about distractions. So we're going to kind of go over that again a little bit today. What are the biggest distractions? Relationships, like we just talked about. Drugs, alcohol. Really, alcohol is a drug. I got into an argument with one of my technicians the other day about marijuana. He says it's not a drug. It is a drug. Alcohol is a drug because it works on the central nervous system, works on the brain chemistry. Is it good or bad? That's subjective. From my perspective, anything in the lungs other than air is probably not healthy. I was talking to some of my students last night about the same thing because they all, as soon as class was over, they all wanted to go outside and smoke a joint and relax. And I'm thinking to myself, how healthy is that? You guys are like athletes. You're supposed to be setting the pace for all these other students, and you want to go smoke a joint. And so I said, well, why would you want to do something that's going to hurt yourself? And they were like, yeah, you're probably right. But they still went ahead and smoked the joint, right? And on top of that, guess what?
What?
They sent me a message about midnight. Hey, we don't have a key to lock the gym up. So I had to come back up to the gym at midnight and lock the gym up. Oh, my goodness. They were just so high, I guess they must have forgot that they didn't have a key. Whatever. It's not a big deal. I'm acting silly about it, but in the reality, really anything in your lungs, other than air, you shouldn't be putting in there. It's just not healthy. And when you get older, it's even worse because your lungs don't work as well when you get old anyway. Everything gets tight, and it's not as elastic anymore. And so it's already a problem when you're old. And then you've got all that tar in there, whatever's coming off the smoke. And even marijuana's got, I don't know what it is, but it's got some kind of chemicals that, are going to stick in the lungs. And that's just not healthy. Any rate, so much for that discussion. Lack of motivation. Why are people not motivated? Why do you think they're not motivated?
They fell off the wagon.
Why did they fall off the wagon? Somebody pushed them.
Okay,
that's another example. Somebody pushes you the wrong way. Bad influence.
Yeah.
I think somebody pushed me off the wagon. I hit on my head. That's why I'm not right.
That
explains it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's why I'm not right. Dang it, I finally figured it out.
You fell off the wagon.
I fell off the wagon. I think that topic was, the line was used a lot with people that fall back on alcohol.
Yeah.
He fell off the wagon. Man, my father was an alcoholic. It was horrible. Greatest guy in the world. But when he was drinking, oh man, it was rough. Mean. And then when he was sober, you couldn't ask for a nicer guy to be around. Jekyll and Hyde.
Wow.
It's crazy, huh?
Yep.
But it's drug addiction. I mean, alcohol's a drug. It's just that it's a legal drug. Now marijuana is legal just about everywhere.
Yep.
So good or bad, I don't know if it's good or bad. It's probably not good in my opinion, but I smoked grass one time when I was in high school, and I just didn't like it. So I never did it again. But apparently a lot of people like it because they sure sell the heck out of it. Mm-hmm. And now the government's selling the heck out of it to compete with the pusher on the street, right?
Mm-hmm. It's funny they called it grass.
Called it grass.
Not marijuana.
Marijuana. Well, because it looks because it grows like grass, right?
Well, I don't know. It's pretty tall.
Well, they call it weed too.
Yeah.
Like a weed.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
If you want to grow like a weed, you shouldn't smoke. We used to say smoking will stunt your growth.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. Probably just as a ploy to scare you.
Yeah.
Ron, don't smoke. It'll stunt your growth. When I was a kid, I smoked a lot of cigarettes starting when I was like 12.
Because you wanted to be short.
I wanted to be short. When you get old, by the way, you lose. I'm about 3 inches shorter than I was even 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, your spine shrinks.
The incredible shrinking man.
Went from like 5'11" to like 5'8" or something like that, 5'7". Like 5'7".
So how tall will you be when you're 100?
Like 5 feet, probably.
Maybe 3 or 4 feet.
If I live that long. Life's funny, man. You think when you're a kid you're going to live forever.
Yeah.
And then when you hit about 50, I said to myself, my life's over. I'll never forget that. And back in those days, I was jogging every morning. And I remember hitting 50 and I stopped on my jog and I thought, man, my life's over.
What a terrible attitude.
That's a bad attitude, wasn't it? But 50's halfway through, so you feel like that's it, man. Average lifespan's only like 76, 77.
You should have said, I got another 50 years.
I should have said that.
I'm still alive.
Back in those days, I wasn't hanging around you, so I didn't have the positive influence. But now I got the positive influence.
Okay.
How about that?
All right.
He paid me about $10 to say that, by the way.
I should have charged more.
You should have charged more, yeah. Dry humor is terrible. I know.
Yes.
Oh, well. So my coach, he wants to be a comedian. He wants to get on
Good.
stage. Yeah.
He should.
But he's more of a joke type guy, like not dry humor as
Yeah.
much. We're talking about famous comedians, and I said, well, one of the most famous comedians is coming to Springfield, Missouri, coming up here in about a month or so, and that is Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's going to do 2 shows in Springfield.
Really?
Yeah. And so my coach said, oh, well, he's not that good. And I thought, well, now what would he say if you were in the room with him right now and you told him that?
He's not that good. He's
He's the wealthiest.
had an incredible career.
Yes. I said, why do you think he's so successful? He said, because he had a great TV show. Now
How did
that
he get
obviously,
the TV show?
Huh?
How did he get the TV show?
Because he was talented.
Yeah.
Or he was lucky, or both.
No, he was funny.
Speaking
And
of lucky
yeah.
and genetics, why are some people so successful and others not? So we had that discussion last night about sports, about like boxing, like Tyson and Jake Paul and Conor McGregor and all these guys that are making all this big money. Floyd Mayweather. What is the difference between these guys versus another boxer coming up through the ranks that never made it?
I think it's the hard work and the willing to go further and harder than anyone else, and whether it's from bad situations or you have the right attitude and you're doing it by your own means. Either way, I think it's because they work 10 times harder than anybody else.
But I think there's a dichotomy here. Is that the right word, dichotomy?
I don't know.
Does that
Sounds like a
mean
surgical procedure.
It does, doesn't it? I think that means something unusual going on.
Yeah.
But at any rate, to me, it's like there's nothing perfect about the formula. You can work really hard and have all the resources and still not be successful. Maybe you can be successful somewhat, but not to that level. So it's like, what makes that guy so successful and the other guy is not as successful? And it's a mystery of life. Some people are born with great genetics, right? We talk about this. High intelligence, great physicality, and others average. So I think you have a big advantage when you have a genius IQ, when you have great genetics, gives you a big advantage. But that's not perfect. But I think you'll see more successful people in that realm than you will people that are average IQ and don't have good genetics. Whether it's music, whether it's sports, whether it's business. I think the average is higher in that realm.
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
No, I think the prodigies, the people that are in that 1% that had the genetics, had the
high
perfect IQ,
perfect environment.
that is one thing, but there's a lot of people out there that are driven and have done whatever it took to get where they're trying to go,
Okay.
and a lot of them have gotten there. You're right; they may not have taken the gold medal at the Olympics, but if they wanted to be successful, they got on that path and worked really hard. And even if they didn't get the gold medal, maybe they become successful.
Maybe they finished the race.
Well, maybe they
Just saying.
in that same realm or industry, they became successful.
Yes.
Whether it was administration or it was, and they got to still be a part of that that mission that they were on.
Which brings me around to make this point, guys, and that's why I'm talking about this. You don't have to be the richest guy in the world or the gold medalist to feel like you've accomplished something in life. Whatever your goal is, accomplishing that goal is winning the gold medal. So quit beating yourself up, which is what I see a lot of people do all the time, including myself. You can't do that. You have to pat yourself on the back for making the effort to improve your life and be closer to accomplishing the goals. I talk about it all the time. I write my goals on the back of a business card and I date it. So I give myself a year to hit the financial goal, the physical goal, the personal goal, whatever the goal is. And if I don't make it, I just reset the goal for one more year. Rather than to beat myself up and go, oh, I didn't make it, I'm so bad, I'll never be successful. No, just reset it for another year. It's not a big deal. Be happy with your effort. That's accomplishment. And accomplishment is the goal, is the drug. We talk about that on the podcast all the time. If you accomplish anything in life, you are going to feel better about yourself, period. It's not that complicated, guys. And when you don't feel like doing something, okay, maybe you have a bad day. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you don't feel, maybe you're in pain. I've had those days. You can still get up the next morning and probably feel better and then try again. Just don't quit. Somebody was talking to me the other day about consistency. Oh, I ran into an old student of mine at Walmart last night. This guy can't be 23, 24 years old. He's been fighting since he was 13, 14 years old. And he's had drug problems. And he's had, he's been prosecuted. He's gone to jail. He's had bad relationships. But last night when I saw him, he looked great. He's had the same job for 3 years. He's fighting again now. He's building a new career in the cage, like MMA fighting. And he just looked wonderful. And I said, man, I'm so happy for you. He says, Ron, I've learned to be more consistent. Even as far as making sure I make my bed in the morning. I said, yes, it starts there. Because then you're disciplined. And you have a schedule. And you stay on the schedule. And man, to see that guy doing so well made me so happy last night. I was walking through the store and I heard, hey, Ron! I looked over and there he was. His name's Tony Grant. You never know. Someday you might hear about him in the UFC. Very talented physical fighter, But now he's getting the rest of his life in order. And that's what's up, man. It's the whole package now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Love hearing that.
Yeah,
love those stories.
It's great. Okay. Today at a store, I was in a store and I looked over to this lady and I smiled and she smiled back at me. And that reminded me, it wasn't like it wasn't like
flirting?
No, it wasn't a flirt thing. It was the idea that if you make the effort first to do something nice and express kindness, oftentimes you'll get it back in return. You have to make the move sometimes first, guys. Spread the good word. It's not that hard. And it might make the difference in that person's life. That day she might have gone on to maybe had the motivation to do something special. You don't know. You don't know who you're affecting every day by just expressing a little bit of kindness.
If you would have frowned at her, would she have had a bad day?
She might have.
Okay.
She might have thought, who is this guy? Oh, well. Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Look, you got to set the pace. You got to be the leader. I was talking to somebody. I'm always talking to somebody. I was talking to somebody the other day about leadership. And I said, look, man, I know who it is, one of my students. He's been doing jiu-jitsu 3 years now. And I said, you've now advanced to this position of leadership. You're not just the student anymore. You're in a leadership position. You have to be responsible. You have to be optimistic. You have to be positive. You have to encourage everybody now. Yeah, but Ron, I've got depression problems. I said, I understand that, but you're working on improving all that. At the same time you're working on that, you've got to help other people too. Mm-hmm. He was dealt a bad hand. When he was born, he had depression and he had one ear doesn't work. But he's came out of all that and he's very successful now in his trade. And bottom line is he is doing great. And I don't pull any punches. Not to use another pun. I tell people how it is, man. And if they don't like it, I'm sorry, but they have to hear the truth. Sometimes I don't like hearing the truth, but I got to take it like a man. My black belt, Luis Rubalcaba, used to say to me, Ron, you look in the mirror in the morning, you have to be realistic. And I thought, oh, man, I don't want to look at myself in the mirror in the morning. But he said, you have to take it all in, man. If you don't like something about yourself, you have to work on it. Don't hide from the truth. Be realistic with yourself, and if you don't like something, get back, work on it. Set a goal. Make a list of things you don't like. I do this every day. It's not complicated. And then I work on trying to improve the things that I don't like about myself. So even if you don't hit on all cylinders every day, you like that saying, hit on all cylinders?
Yeah.
It's another old saying.
Yeah.
You can make progress. And progress is what's up. How are we doing on time?
Great.
Okay, any breaking news?
I do have some breaking news.
Okay, I'm ready.
You were talking about people that don't get hung up on making lots of money. There are people that make lots of money that don't really do a great job of handling that money.
Fair enough.
And there's something that just happened. There was an auction in New York, and a banana that was duct taped to a wall sold for $6.2 million
Oh,
at
now,
auction.
now come on.
I got it right here, man.
How would that be? How's that possible?
It is a piece of artwork. It was inspired originally in 2019 in Miami by a artist. This piece was on display in New York, and a guy that owns a crypto company bought it and said he was going to eat the banana.
Oh, come on, man.
So
What is up with this? Is crazy.
This is dumb. Yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb.
That's
It's
when you
dumb.
have
It's
too
dumb.
much money.
Yes.
I could see maybe if the artist was somebody who was already well known, that you could say, I've got a piece of artwork from so-and-so, and he's like a famous artist.
Well,
I could see that as a possibility.
It was
It was a famous artist.
The Sotheby's auction house said it was the announcement of a new original work by the prominent and provocative
Prominent.
artist
Oh.
Catalan that initially
Okay.
captured the world's attention, and they called it Comedian. That's what the piece was called.
Okay.
He duct taped a banana to the wall, called it Comedian, and it took a viral life of its
Okay,
own.
okay.
And they
So it has value as an art
reintroduced it.
piece.
Well,
Sort
in
of.
the media and in the art circle,
That's wild to
It
me.
has. I don't know when he ate it. Does that mean it doesn't exist anymore?
I think it f's it all up,
he
messes
just
it all
it's
up.
like
man.
burning your painting.
Yeah, I don't
you
get
know?
it. I don't get it.
So
That's you know what? That's eccentricity to its highest level.
yeah,
Is that how you pronounce it? Eccentric.
I don't know.
Eccentricity.
Sounds like another surgical procedure to me. Today is you probably remember this, National Jukebox Day. Remember the jukebox?
Yes.
Yeah. You don't see those hardly anymore.
No.
And I don't know why there's a national day for it, because they don't exist really anymore except in themed cafes or ice
I
cream
did see
parlors.
a jukebox in The Sopranos, the final episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah.
It was at the table and he was punching it in at the table, but the jukebox was over here.
Yeah.
That's the last time I saw anything about a jukebox. There's been a lot of discussion about that final episode of The Sopranos, by the way, which was a big TV show. If you don't know what that is, and I think the producer of the show was interviewed about it. But it's a very open-ended ending to the life of the gangsters. What the movie was all about, the gangster family. So much for that.
So just going back to
Sorry.
the 6.2 million, you know how many people that would have fed?
Yeah,
you know,
good point.
he could have got a lot of press by donating food to people that are hungry,
Yep.
or helping people that are well deserving.
Oh, well.
That is such a waste. To be able to do that really probably means you have a lot more than 6.2 million. You probably have hundreds and hundreds of millions or billions.
Or billions, yeah.
And so this amount of money here was just
I was thinking about Elon Musk. Elon Musk now, he's worth $350 billion with a B. That's 350,000 million. Think about that. 1,000 million makes a billion. How crazy is that much money? That's like beyond understanding.
Yes, there was another news story, and I'm gonna try to find it,
Okay.
so you can see it. But go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
Okay.
Because you need to see this.
Okay.
It's actually insane.
Well, like you said, it's nice if you look today. Everything's relative, guys. Elon Musk, worth the richest guy in the world, versus today. I was approached by a gentleman at the store, and he says, "Hey man, have you got like 50 cents?" He said, "That would help me to get what I need to get." I'm thinking, I hope he's not going to buy alcohol, but I gave him 50 cents. That might have been the difference of him eating today versus not. So you don't have to have billions of dollars to be effective. Yes.
So this is the national news, and it's not funny, but talking about billions or millions or whatever that I didn't know there was a word called decillion.
Decillion.
Russia has fined Google 20.6 decillion for banning accounts on YouTube. What is a decillion? It's a number with 34 zeros.
I don't know how much that is, but
Let me
that's pretty
see.
bizarre.
Let me see.
Because a million is 6 zeros. A billion is 7
So-
zeros. So that would be 4.5 times a trillion. It'd be a trillion times 5.
Here it is. It's
It's
that's
it's
the
it's
number
a trillion.
right
It's yeah.
there. I was trying to find.
It's 5 times a
put some
trillion.
pics. Okay.
I think, give or
It's
take.
ruble. It's ruble. I'm
these
sorry.
are rubles,
not
okay.
dollars.
Okay.
But
Well, it's probably billions of dollars anyway.
yeah. So that
They're trying to break Google up, by the way. It's an antitrust lawsuit.
Yeah.
I have a lot of trouble with Google. You know, I advertise on Google, and it's a real problem. And I'll tell you a very quick story here, and then we'll get out of here. So, I advertise on my own on Google.
Mm-hmm.
I also buy what we call pay leads from another company called Networks, and they subscribe to Google. Well, I'm 7 days a week in my home repair company. So Sunday morning, I got a call, and after that call, the customer called me back about an hour later and said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know that your technician, something or another, he said he was going to come back, and I just wanted to make sure he was going to come back." I said, "He's going to come back." She said, "Well, they deleted your ad." And I'm a little concerned. I thought, deleted my ad? So I got to looking on Google, and sure enough, my ad was not there. So I sent a message to Networks the next day. On Tuesday, they called me, and they said, "What's going on?" And I told them what's going on. She says, "Well, we're having a lot of trouble with Google." And I thought, that's a real interesting answer. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for like specifics.
Yeah.
Why is my ad not running on Sunday? I'm in business and I need my phone to be ringing. Any rate, back to Google. You've had trouble with Google. I've had trouble. Everybody's having trouble with Google.
Well, they're the giant
I get
as
it.
far as internet.
I get it.
But
regardless,
I
it
think
shouldn't be this hard.
I know, and I think what they're doing right now, they're going through a lot of verification processes to make sure that the people that are on Google are real people and not bots.
I get it.
I get it. Not people taking advantage of other people, but it's causing
A lot of problems.
a lot of
Yeah.
roadblocks
Okay.
and speed bumps and problems. Yeah.
We'll get off that subject because a lot of people listening today are probably going, "I don't really care about all that." Sorry, guys. Sometimes I go down these wormholes. Any rate, if you've got any words of wisdom or not.
Not. I already talked about a lot of things.
I guess we'll close it out then. So, I always say to you guys, if you don't give up, and you know you don't want to give up,
And don't fall off the train.
and don't fall off the train, and don't fall off the wagon, and don't get pushed off the wagon,
Yes.
and fall on your head like I did, and spend a lifetime of being kind of weird, eventually the stars are going to line up. I don't know where that came from either. I guess to suggest that there's like continuity.
Maybe see.
And up until that time, guys, and even after that time, just remember, keep your head up, keep your chin up, keep a good attitude, and stay positive.